Hey everybody, this is Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer. Welcome to this new video. I wanted to let you guys know I'm going to try to be putting out more videos at least once a week. I'm hoping that standard can stick depending on how busy we get. I have fortunately found new software development that helps with the subtitles and all the boring stuff that goes behind editing. It's actually a very long process. As you saw last week, I put out 4 videos, so I'm trying to keep a pace of at least one a week. This video specifically is amazing channeling by Aridif, and it's in-depth talking about the dimensionality of sleep states and all sorts of great stuff about that. So I think this one's a really good one to share with you guys so that people can start understanding a little more about how dream states work, sleep states, astral projected states. All of that stuff is very cool, and Aridif talks about it really in depth. So I want you guys to have an opportunity to check this out. This was actually taken from a clip from our Patreon, and I did make an announcement at our Patreon. We did do a few changes on Patreon. Thank you for being here. I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the channeling, and I'll see you on the other side.
First, we must express, before diving deeply into this construct, we must first touch upon all of the understandings of what the multi-dimensional layers of consciousness are, and of what the sleep state layer consciousnesses are, in order to understand the multi-dimensional self and the layers of consciousness that lie between the self and the self not known to the self. We must describe first the exact form of those layers. Now, understanding what multidimensionality means is a vitally important construct in order to understand the nature of the self within. And multidimensionality is the words that are used to describe them exactly. They are dimensions in multiplicity. They are dimensions in all forms that are multiple in nature. Now, of course, the dimensional nature of the universe takes much different hold of energy than that of non-physical aspects of consciousness, or those who are fixated only in the physical attributes of consciousness as well. But when you look at multidimensionality, what appears in your physical layers are the simple forms of densities, the 1 through 3 density layer being that of one-dimensional aspect, that of 4th being another, that of 5th and 6th being yet another. So in 6 densities that are conscious layers of evolution, you hold only 3 different physical dimensional aspects. And of course, in the non-physical realm, consciousness still holds higher dimensionality. Now, of course, dimensionality does not occur in the essence of physicality itself when it occurs in the non-physical reality. This is why we define those layers throughout, instead of that which is dimensionally, that which are in density layers, and density, of course, describing only the evolutionary planes and attributes of consciousness as a journey, opposed to that as a descriptor of dimensions that exist within the ethos. Now, understanding, when you describe the term dimensions, it is not in fact only 3 that exist in the physical structure layers. Of course, those are the 3 that are inhabited with the physical forces that you understand and know as physical reality and physical bodies that are embodied by the consciousness that is non-physical, both in singular, collective, planetary, solar system, and galactic forms, but still expressed throughout only those 3-dimensional attributes. But if you are speaking of consciousness, then the layers, although finite in number, would feel infinite to that of the human perspective, knowing that the human layer of consciousness that is only held within your body would not have the wherewithal of understanding the subtlety of dimensional shifts. It would not be post energy for all of you to try to go through those and to count them individually. Now, of course, looking at densities is a very important part of understanding dimensional shifts from the layers of consciousness, although densities and dimensions are quite separate energies. The energy that is devised to understand the layers of consciousness that is within dimensionality must be comprised and understood by way of density in order for it to have a system in which you are able to account for these different dimensional forms of energy. So we utilize that with a third density, one which all of you hold high awareness, one which all of you have lived the majority of your experience within, and that being a fourth dimensional consciousness. Now you take your third density in understanding comparative to that of the fourth density and fifth dimensional, and you hold layers that are between. Now, of course, and yet again, these are not strictly physical forms of consciousness that exist. These are, in fact, between physicality. These are known as the ghost zones of consciousness or the in-between areas of consciousness. Yet these are where the feeling of infinite numbers rise to the greatest feeling of understanding in both the expression that those consciousnesses may take through those layers or the direct affinity for human consciousness to explore those in the mental body alone. Either way, all of those consciousnesses hold in depth infinite feelings of layers. Now, we say that these are finite only due to the nature of the expressions in which occur from a full dimensional energy that is encased within the universal construct of consciousness itself. Yet within those layers, you can appreciate the consciousness between third and fourth as 3.1, 3.2, etc., going into your 1/10 percentages and going in to 10% within each form and fold, and between those lies 1/100th of a consciousness, or 1/100th of a percentile of one, and continue breaking forward each of these layers down. This is where the infinite comes forward. But when you're not aligned with these consciousnesses in a direct way that is outside of a descriptive form, all of these conscious layers can be held with very small amounts of beings that exist within them. If you were to take the population of each of these layers, some may only hold thousands of entities in one entire collective consciousness. These are the fine-tuning vibration forms of dimensionality. Now, for intents and purposes of describing the human experience and the human experience of dream states, we will simply go only into the dimensionality that exists in the higher fractal consciousness. Now, of course, in previous expressions of exchange, we have spoken deeply of the layers of your sleep state consciousness and how those interact most directly with the layers of your own consciousness through multidimensionality. For example, we utilized William as the example himself, going to drive out into the job and going out into a restaurant, holding memories of childhood restaurant, and that was the example. And in this example, we shared what the third density version of William experienced. We shared what the fourth density version of William experienced. We shared what the fifth and sixth density layers, and we shared what the collective experienced in that energy. This is very much important for humans to understand as they understand the nature of multidimensionality itself. All of you, that has no exceptions, in the human physical body, hold layers of your higher self in each dimensional form. All of you have higher self fractals that are fourth density in the highest level of fourth density consciousness. All of you hold fifth density layers within your higher fractal consciousness layers, all of you, and all of you. Hold sixth density layers of consciousness inside of your higher fractal consciousness, all of you. And the reason it is understood by the human collective consciousness that multidimensionality exists is that each of you have that experience in your daily routine of sleep, sleep state, astral projected state, and in meditative dream states of awakened dreams or astral projections, remote viewing, some of you may call this. Either way, all of you have a grasp upon what that means at the depth of your consciousness, at the forefront of your mind, at the interim of your emotional and mental co-creant selves. Now, expressing the layers of dream state is quite simple. There are three finite layers and multiple layers that are in between these layers, just as you are in densities and dimensions, just as you are in the dimensional self of the human expression. Now, the first layer of dream state. This is your low astral projected state. This is your fourth density consciousness. This is your own consciousness leaving your physical body and joining that fourth density aspect of your consciousness to experience what it is that the amalgamation of both of you desire to experience. This means that when you are lucid, your fourth density version bows to your greater desire and says, "You are in the driver's seat now. You may choose what we are doing in this experience." When you experience this very first layer of the dream state consciousness, what you are experiencing, besides experiencing that of the fourth density experience, you are experiencing simply being in your earth collective consciousness. In one form of time or another, you are experiencing the same version of Earth that you experience in this moment, or slightly different, but experiencing it from the vantage point of your consciousness. You are experiencing perhaps a different time within your Earth collective, but experiencing as you are. Now we go to the second layer, dream state, and of course the consciousness in that layer must shift as well. You cannot hold a fourth density perspective in the high astral projected state. This is where your fifth density consciousness takes hold. This is where your fifth density layer of the higher fractal consciousness merges with you. You integrate into that portion and become a co-creator of that energy. For those of you who are lucid in this state, the same is expressed as in the previous state as well. That this energy alone, one in where your fifth density version bows to your request, allows you into the driver's seat of focal consciousness and says, "This is my experience all of the time. You are only stepping in to play. I allow you to be the conductor of the symphony that we co-create," and steps forward. Now, of course, last layer of your dream state is quite significant. This is where your sixth density consciousness is. This is the part of your experience that defines creatorship in dream state. This is between the layers of sixth density consciousness and the completion of the higher oversoul consciousness, the beginning portions of the earth co-creator collective consciousness. This is where, when once you integrate in to your sixth density in whole and vibrate at the highest layers of sixth density, you are going between that of physical and that of non-physical consciousness. Whereas your fifth density version of sleep state is known as the high astral projected state, and the fourth density as the low astral projected state. This is known by the template layer of your creation, template layer of all creation. This is where dream states are most vivid. These are where dream states are also mismanaged highly. And when we express mismanaged, what we mean is the memory of those coming back into your reality are often not accurate. They often seem nonsensical. They often seem as if there are no cohesiveness in the dream state whatsoever.